If a child with an IEP has behaviors that are interfering with their learning or the learning of others, the school should conduct a functional behavioral assessment, or FBA. An FBA is an assessment performed to determine the underlying cause of the challenging behavior.
An FBA must be based on data, and the conclusions of the FBA are used to develop a behavioral intervention plan, or BIP. The FBA conclusion will be a hypothesis statement in the format of when X occurs, the student does Y in order to Z. For example, when work is too difficult, the student runs out of the classroom in order to escape completing the assignment.
This hypothesis statement is then used to create a BIP. A BIP is a written plan that is part of the IEP that includes supports, tools, and skills for the child and school staff, positive behaviors the child can learn to replace negative behaviors, rewards for replacing behavior, and a system for tracking behavior data. A BIP should be positive and focused on giving the child the skills they need to interact successfully in school and should not be used as punishment.
Behaviors that interfere with learning might include disrupting class, skipping a particular class or chronic absences from school, not paying attention, work refusal, disrespectful language, running out of class or the school building, also known as eloping, or even more challenging behaviors like aggression and property destruction. These are behaviors that often result in exclusion from school through in and out of school suspension, early sin homes, or restrictive IEP placements like homebound and modified day, but they do not have to result in school exclusion in order to be behaviors that interfere with learning. Work refusal is a common behavior that may not result in school exclusion, but may significantly interfere with the child's learning and therefore should be addressed through behavior goals or a BIP.
Under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, if there is an MDR and the behavior leading to suspension is determined to be related to the child's disability, the school must conduct an FBA and develop a BIP, unless the student already has a BIP. Best practice is for the school to conduct an FBA and develop a BIP as soon as the IEP team identifies that there are challenging behaviors instead of waiting until the child has already accumulated 11 days of out-of-school suspension. But after a positive MDR is the only time it is procedurally required. You can ask that the school conduct a FBA at any time, as well as review and revise the student's BIP. You do not have to wait until your child has been suspended.
The FBA should consist of the following steps. Step 1. The IEP team must identify and define the specific problem behavior in observable, measurable terms. Then the IEP team determines what information will be collected, who will collect each piece of information, and how. Collecting information does not mean writing down stories from teachers, staff, or parents about the child's behavior while in an IEP meeting. It is a longer process that should happen outside of the IEP meeting.
Step 2. Collect information on the specific problem behavior through observations across school settings, record reviews, and systematic data collection that includes when and where the behavior occurred, who was present, how often and for how long it occurred, what happened just before the behavior started, what happened after the behavior stopped, and what were the consequences. Consequences include the immediate reactions of staff and other students, not just behavior consequences. It is best if the information collection includes observations from a staff member who does not know the child. The collection of information should also include interviews of the child, parents, and staff about the behavior and about the child's strengths and needs. Step 3. Once all the information is collected, the IEP team needs to review and analyze the data. Then the team creates a hypothesis statement, which should use this format. When X occurs, the student does Y in order to Z. The hypothesis statement should be as specific as possible. Another example of a good hypothesis statement would be when Mary is asked to work independently in class on a math assignment, she throws her book in order to get sent to in-school suspension so she can avoid revealing to her peers that she cannot independently do the assignment. If the hypothesis statement reveals that the student may need additional or different special education services, the IEP team should ensure that the student gets those services. Then the IEP team uses the hypothesis statement to develop a behavioral intervention plan, also known as a BIP.